We are recording.
Great. So if everybody could just join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So pretty short agenda, but we do have the budget presentation, community budget presentation. That's the superintendent's report. So Bill will turn the hosting duties over to Kerry.
I'll take it.
Please, Bill.
Sure.
And we'll get that up on the screen for everybody to see. Hope everybody's doing well, enjoying some of the good weather. I know I did some work on the front porch today. Good? Yeah, I got it.
Dr. Sarah.
Okay. Well, I thank everyone for coming here. Bill, how many do we have in?
35 participants total.
35? Okay.
Total,
all right.
So,
that means we have, 20 plus at least in the audience. So I thank you all for being here. And I would ask that you please, encourage people to either watch this or invite us in if you're a member of a group. I did send out a bunch of emails today to various community leaders asking them to join today, and also asking, for an audience with your various groups so that we can spread the word. I think that this is obviously a very, very unique year. And I believe that our Board of Education and our administrative team, in collaboration with our teachers, have worked really hard to put together a budget that I think accomplishes what we really needed it to accomplish. And I think I'm very proud of the result given the circumstances with which we've had to work. So that being, kind of a start to this, let's move into the budget presentation. So, the first thing I'd like to emphasize is that, right from the start of this, when I came in as a superintendent, one of the things that was most appealing to me was the general community feel of Center Merchants. And that clearly has been something that I've been able to experience firsthand. Unfortunately, since March, that has changed a bit. And I think that one of the things that we've really tried to do is emphasize that we live in such a remarkable community that has so many gifts and so many supportive organizations, and the school is an integral part of that. So when you look at all the organizations that we partner with in our community, whether within our school being the PTA and SEPTA, the Red Devil Pride Club, the Nation, who is such an integral part of our community and our school community, and brings so much to our school. The MYO, the community center, the fire department, our partnership with Helping Makes You Happy, all of these things, whether it be, our band playing for the Chamber of Commerce's tree lighting, all the wonderful things that we work with the Center Merchants Public Library and Suffolk County Police Department, the partnership, with their SROs and their community officers. It's really incredible to think how central our school is to the community. And so, when this started, we even really felt like, well, what can we do to inspire our community, to get our community, involved with us and strengthen some of those partnerships? So we started to try to promote, very early in my tenure here, we started to really utilize social media to get the word out about what the school is doing and many of the positive contributions our school is making. And so we started this hashtag CM Positivity. And I think that has taken off. Some silly things that we're posting, but things that we're also very proud of in our community, using that hashtag CM Pride. We use another hashtag I didn't list here, Let's See CM, because we really want to see CM as much as possible out there. We have a hashtag endless opportunities because we believe in so much in what we're doing in our schools for our kids that we are preparing them for a future that is uncertain right now. It's changing so rapidly that we want to make sure that our kids are well prepared and harness all the possible things in our community, our CSIP program, our MYP community project, all these things that reach out and create partnerships within our community are so important. Some of the events we did recently were the Caravan of Caring. And, you know, by concept, you think of the Caravan of Caring as something we were going to go out and we were going to drive through our community, beeping our horns, showing signs, letting the community know that our teachers and our staff and our administrative team really loved this community. And what we found, and it brought us to tears, was that it wasn't just kids in the elementary grades or what have you, or even middle school or high school kids that were out there. There were senior citizens out there. There was everybody in the community was out there knowing that this was taking place, waving to our teachers and showing an appreciation for a community that really comes together around its school. So I think that there's a tremendous amount of school community pride, and it's something that we're really proud of. You know, you can see in some of the pictures here, the one on the bottom is of that community, the Caravan of Caring. Our Ride for Life, which is a wonderful event. There's one of our police officers, Officer Nancy is there, and our partnership with the fire department that's always there. You know, when we win a sports championship, the first thing we do is have Joe Townsend call up and say, we got a state championship, Joe. We have to see that parade, you know, do the parade of champions. And our fire department's always there for us. So these are things that really feel really good. We've done some virtual spirit weeks. Every week now we're doing Senior Fridays. If you go past the school and you see the pictures of every single senior, you know that we are really trying to promote positivity in our community. And I think that that's important. Okay, Carrie, now I'm ready. So moving on, we have a lot to be proud of in our school. You know, I tried to include some of the pictures. It's just almost impossible to include all the wonderful things that our sports teams are doing. The thing I'm most proud of is that a little school like us had 22 scholar athlete teams. That's remarkable. That means that our kids are getting it done on the fields because we're winning baseball championships, winning basketball championships, soccer championships. We've got a championship wrestler. All of these wonderful things. Our tennis and cross country teams representing us in state championships. All of these wonderful things, and yet 22 scholar athlete teams because our kids are getting it done in the classroom too. So we're really proud of that, and we know that we're an athletic town. We're a town that supports our athletic programs. But it's not just about athletics. It's about making sure that our kids are getting it done on the fields and in the classroom also. So a lot to be proud of in the athletic program. As far as our music, and hit the next one, Karen, our music and fine arts, again, you know, this is third year in a row. We are a 2020 community music best communities for music education. So we know that our music department's always there. I mentioned earlier that our middle school band was there playing at the tree lighting for the chamber. Those are events that we embrace. Just today, our elementary school, who missed out on their performance, released the most creative thing I've ever seen. It was actually kids performing in their roles in their school play and splicing it together to actually create an elementary theater performance. It's really remarkable, and I'll be sending that out, you know, later today or tomorrow. But we had two wonderful productions this year. We had Into the Woods by our middle school, and we had Beauty and the Beast. And, you know, these kinds of things, when you see kids performing at the level that our kids are performing, it brings a tear to your eye. And we've got kids represented in multiple art shows. Kids, you know, we're seeing, you know, as you see the artists displayed at these museums, like the Heckscher Museum or Lee Zeldin's Congressional Art Show or the Bidewee, you know, exhibition. All over, our kids are entering these kinds of contests, and we're really excited about it. There are, for a little school, lots of our kids are participating in the music festivals, Skamia, Hamia, NISMA. We see enormous amounts of kids participating in these things. And we had a student this year, Jake Miller, went up and was selected to All-State for NISMA. So really proud of the things that are happening in our fine arts department as well. And you can see many of the pictures here of some of the wonderful things they're doing. not to be outdone, we have a business and technology program that's really strong as well. When you look at some of these pictures, and this was heartbreaking to me because our robotics team, and I got a chance to meet with them, I got a chance to look at their robot and see what they had built, and it was unbelievable. This thing could run around on the floor, pick up balls, shoot them through a hoop, and then put a rappelling hook and hang. I mean, it was remarkable that these kids, a student-driven robotics team with a couple of advisors, Mr. Roy, Mr. Molina, could be able to put this thing together and have such a remarkable robot that they built. So unfortunately, they didn't get to participate in some of these competitions this year, but I know that they would have represented us so well and brought home some trophies. We have, relatively new is our CMTV, where the kids are putting out, really good biweekly broadcasts of their news program. And again, that's a student-driven thing, and we really get such a kick out of watching this. We have the pleasure of being the first viewers of this so that we can see what they're creating before it actually gets published. And it always puts a smile on my face to see the humor infused in all that they do and the level of excitement that our kids put into those media productions. And then on the business side, Mr. Missler, shares with us many of these wonderful accomplishments of the kids in our business program, our business elective. The virtual enterprises finished in the top 25% among 800 plus firms. And this is an elevator building competition. Our esports, we had 2 top 10 nationally ranked teams. Really wonderful stuff to see. And finally, DECA, 11 of our students placed in the top 10 in regional championships. So lots of good stuff happening in all areas of our school. Carrie, you sleeping on me?
Oh, I got it. I have to admit people and get you going.
But it's not just, like we are committed to educating every single child in our school, and we do such a remarkable job doing so. Some of these pictures are pictures of our kids, students with special needs working. We have a full continuum of services for students with special needs in our K to 12. We build in very comprehensive supports, and I believe we have a model program that really supports all kids. We are utilizing all kinds of instructional methods, and I think that that's why we have such a robust enrollment of our tuition students. They come in because they know the kind of program that we can put out there, and they know that whatever the nature of the disability of these children is, we're going to prepare them for their future as best we can. So we obviously try to make sure that they get an authentic experience. We mainstream them as much as possible, and we provide all kinds of opportunities. One of the things we're most proud of is the way we are partnering with people in our community, from IGHL to Anton's Pizzeria, Wanda's Weight Room Plus, all of those places, the Suffolk County Farm, the library, all of these places have embraced our kids, and we see them in the workforce learning how to be productive members of society. And it's inspiring to be able to see our kids with big smiles on their faces doing good work for local businesses in our community. Really great stuff. And then moving into our individual buildings. Mr. Ritchie, put together a couple things here that we can talk about that we're really excited about. We now have dedicated space we have a science lab. We have built a mindfulness room. One of the things that we know kids are experiencing, and this pandemic hasn't helped, is stressors in their lives. And we're seeing higher levels of anxiety, depression. So we are committed to supporting kids from a social emotional perspective, and building a mindfulness room and having a place where they can go to just breathe and be present in the moment is important. As well as an inquiry lab that supports many of the things that we have in our primary years program for International Baccalaureate, that we know we are going to continue to support that type of inquiry-based learning. We have a foreign language in the elementary school program, a FLES program. That program right now is slated to be reduced slightly, but we do believe that through some of our budget savings, we might be able to get that program fully reinstated. But we do have, and I talked a little bit about the focus on social emotional needs and our character education program. We follow the primary years program learner profile, and the attributes of an effective learner are infused into this profile, and we utilize that to make sure our kids are understanding what it takes to be a successful learner. And in terms of, sometimes kids will be kids and we need to address misbehavior. And we do so utilizing restorative practices so that they can understand what it takes to to undo the damage that was done and make it right. And so a focus on restorative practice is something that we're infusing in our character education program. As far as response to intervention, when we talk about kids, we talk about kids in terms of their readiness level. And we want to know what their readiness level is. And some kids are going to be more prepared than others. And some kids need a little bit of a push. So if we take data and we're leveraging technology to assess children and make sure that we know exactly where kids are, and we utilize response to intervention, again, it's basically one of those things that as we look at where kids and how they're responding to different interventions we use, if they're responding well, we continue with that intervention. If not, then we adjust and we adjust either the frequency, the duration, the ratios of teacher to student. All of those kinds of things are things that we can adjust to make sure that we are responding, and we're responding to data that is going to support kids so that they can advance in their academic preparation. And another thing we're very proud of is the partnership with Columbia Teachers College and the Reading and Writing Project. We've been working with them for a couple of years now, and it's something that we know that we are putting out there the best possible practices for literacy instruction. And that's work that continues, and we are really proud of the way our teachers have embraced it and the progress we're seeing with our children. Moving over to the middle school, you could see right there on the top right, the middle years program. Very, very proud that, and I was a proud superintendent to be able to say, I kind of got them over the finish line. I might not have gotten them started, but we are an authorized international baccalaureate middle years program school. And that's a wonderful thing because, you could just see that top picture there on the right where those kids are so excited to be there and be a part of this. They will, and very creatively, this year was the year our 8th graders going to do their middle years project, their community project. And, unfortunately, the pandemic hit, but so neat to see kids get creative and still be able to, whether they're selling bracelets for a cause and doing it online now because they weren't able to do it out in the community, all different kinds of things where kids are still completing their community project and doing good work for either locally or for somewhere else in the world, knowing that they have to give back and do something to serve their community, I think is a really neat thing. Clearly, again, the focus in all international baccalaureate programs is on that inquiry-based idea that we are preparing kids for a future that is uncertain right now. It is changing in ways that we had never seen. We talk about just the way instruction has changed because of this pandemic and how we've shifted to an online learning environment. Well, you know what? Our kids can make that adjustment. They can make that adjustment with a great deal of resilience because they are being taught to have this inquiry-based approach where it's really their curiosity that needs to inspire their learning. And then we have lots of the explicit teaching approaches to learning, and that's part of our middle years program. And our character education program also supporting social emotional, and as I said in the elementary, our learner profile, which comes out of the middle years program. We have lots of, over the years, we have added lots of elective and extracurricular opportunities. We've got clubs and sports, and we've got introductory language in the 6th grade, and then we've got foreign language classes in the 7th and 8th grade. So we really are doing a lot of wonderful things, focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and research skills in our middle years are really things that we can be very, very proud of. And then finally, when we think about kids in 8th grade now participating, when they go on the college visit to Washington, D.C., last year, a college visit was included in there. And I had an opportunity to be in one of the social studies classes earlier where they were doing a interdisciplinary career exploration project. Really neat stuff, really getting kids before they head into the high school years thinking about, well, what does it mean? What should my course of study in high school be so that I can be well prepared for my years after high school and beyond? So a lot of good things happening at the middle school. You know, this slide is a slide to be really proud of also. You know, the high school came in and was able to get their IB authorization for the diploma program. And I think that it was the, you know, like kind of the cherry on the top of that ice cream for Mr. Catchwell, because it really shows, you know, 10 years ago when Mr. Caswell started in the high school, the advanced Regents diploma rate was at 30%. It stands at 61% now, more than doubled. That's remarkable. 97% Regents diploma rate is where we stand right now from 88%. The IB diploma program authorization I mentioned, but all those looking at and telling kids, you know, setting a bar that's higher for kids and telling them that, no, you can get there is what has worked. Tripling concurrent course offerings and doubling AP offerings has told kids that you can take these classes. And not only can you take these classes, you can be successful in them. And if you are successful in these classes, you'll be successful in life. And I think those are the kinds of things. Creating opportunities for kids and expanding opportunities for kids is the kind of thing that doubles those advanced Regents diploma rates and shows that a regular Regents diploma rate can get to 97%. We want to celebrate those successes. We've got almost double the honor societies that we had. We're at 7 honor societies in our school, in our little school. And we've got increased our club and extracurricular offerings. You can see Patrick Murray on the bottom. I wouldn't even tell you the bottom picture here. I couldn't tell you what I think it's something about Band-Aids being able to heal cuts faster or something like that. But he has done amazing research, and you know, unfortunately, some of his opportunities were taken away in terms of his able to present. But this young man did a remarkable job in our science research program, and is now he's going to be attending Notre Dame in the. These are the kinds of opportunities. These are the things we want for our kids. We want them, like Patrick, to be able to get into some of the most competitive universities in the country, and something like a science research program, something like adding these concurrent AP offerings and having the diploma program. These are the kinds of things that get that done, create opportunities for kids. So really, really, really great stuff at the high school. So these slides essentially just are showing what our enrollment looks like. And you can see that when we go from kindergarten last year on the left side over to kindergarten next year, we are looking at a greater number. We're looking at essentially we're projected to be at 110, 111 or something. So we suspect that we're going to have to actually add a kindergarten section. There are some sections in here that you can see are a little bit smaller, and you know, we'll have to monitor that enrollment to see what that really looks like. But we are right now looking at an enrollment that has 5 sections in kindergarten and 4 in the other grades at this time. But we are keeping an eye on that closely. For the middle school, again, similarly, you can see the 8th grade is a bit of a bubble year for us for next year. Otherwise, we have just over 100 students in 6th grade and 7th grade next year. And those are equating to about 5 sections per grade level for next year. So pretty much status quo on that one. And then at our high school enrollment, again, we're looking at pretty much sort of status quo, a little bit less in terms of the total enrollment, but we're not looking at changing much. We were able to consolidate in a couple of departments, which saved us some money in the budget, but we don't anticipate any changes to opportunities for kids, most importantly. You know, again, I talked about what an odd year this was. But I think the goal remains the same. I think that when we have made 10 years of progress like we've had with our exit outcomes, you know, because it starts at Clayton Huey and finishes at the high school. Ultimately, what we want to see the exit outcomes at the high school. And if our goal is to provide the highest quality education, that seems like a given. It has to be done at a price the community can afford. And that always is our highest priority, because if you try to add program and add program and add program, eventually that becomes a breaking point. And so we need to be cognizant of that. We recognize this year in particular that people are struggling. There are people that have been greatly impacted by this pandemic. And therefore, it was very important for us to understand the circumstances that people are facing, understand that there are some state aid cuts that are coming our way. We are losing some revenue based on some of these cuts, and that's going to impact us. So we wanted to be very careful, and we wanted to make sure that we were doing so, being fiscally prudent, but we did not want to impact our programmatic offerings. We're going to maintain all existing opportunities for our students, and I mentioned that earlier. We're going to make sure, coming off a pandemic like this, that our kids are supported, not just academically, but socially and emotionally, that we put in the kinds of supports they need so that they feel connected to the school and they feel supported in ways that previously they may not have needed as much. And we want to create a safe learning environment. When we could talk about a safe learning environment, I think social and emotional creates that emotional safety, but we have new priorities. We need to make sure that whatever we do, we used to be worried about making sure that our security was the most important thing. Well, that's still a priority. It's very important that we maintain our security. But now cleaning and sanitization has risen to the top of our priorities. When our kids come back into our schools, our parents, our children, our teachers, everyone needs to know that our facilities are being cleaned in a way that is going to keep everybody safe. So those are some real priorities for our school moving forward. We also had some budget goals that we wanted to make sure we met. First off, we wanted to stay within the New York State tax cap levy, and that levy was set at 1.65. Well, we did that. We were able to stay under that levy, even given some of the revenue reductions that we got through the state. We were able to stay under the 1.65, at the 1.65. Then one of the budget goals was to say less than a 2% budget to budget increase. I'm very pleased to say that we're coming in at a very modest 0.93%. So less than 1% increase budget to budget. And as you can imagine, that's not easy to do given many of the rising costs that exist just by virtue of doing business in the following year. One of our goals was to reduce our applied fund balance by $100,000. We wanted to come from $1.1 million down to $1 million in applied fund balance. Basically, that's money that we roll over from year to year. Given the circumstances, we are not sure that we can do that. We do not believe we are budgeting for the 1.1 million again in applied fund balance. But I talked earlier about maintaining programs, and very importantly, we don't want to have anything that is going to impact our borrowing rates. And so maintaining our current fiscal stress level, the comptroller comes out every year, and his highest designation for a district is the idea of no designation. So there's no designation means you're not susceptible to fiscal stress. We believe that the budget that we put forth and we're presenting to the community will result in no change to our fiscal stress level for next year. So we do believe that we will be coming in at no designation. So at this time, I'm going to I did all of those things, and now I'm going to hand it over to the expert in numbers. So I'll hand that over to Ms. Lachlan to take us through the proposed budget for 2020, 2021. Thank you, Carrie.
So if you recall, back on May 15th, we had our presentation where we provided the community with some reductions to the overall budget to balance it out. And those reductions included staffing and program modifications. And those staffing reductions were across all units within the district. Every single unit was touched in order to balance the budget out. Then May 19th, we had a presentation where we, it's kind of maintaining all that information. We were hopeful we would have the governor's proposal of state aid, but that hasn't come through. But since those two meetings, we have had some things change, which you see on the agenda for this evening, that are going to allow for some potential reinstatement of reductions that we previously proposed. In addition, we received word last week that summer school has been redesigned for this coming summer, and it's to be a distance learning model. So we should see some cost savings already that we had planned on budgeting for in that area. And as I mentioned before, just some retirements and resignations of some staff that we've gotten over the past week. In addition, we've been working closely with our collective bargaining agreements and all of our staff members. We are happy to say we have received some salary concessions from our Administrators Association, the District Office Administration Team, our Paraprofessional Unit, our Teamsters, and our technology employees. In these conversations that we've been having with these units, it does result in savings across the board of about $111,000 to the budget for next year. And we are continuing to work with all bargaining units for any other additional savings that we can realize in the coming months before we start the school year.
Terry, can I just say that, I just want to give a heartfelt thanks to everybody for working with us and the concessions that are made and the continuing work that's going on. We do greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in the planning process and what we're continuing to look at, and as we've mentioned before, a budget is fluid, and next year it's going to be even more fluid than ever before. I don't know what school is going to look like. But with these changes that we've had and the concessions that we've received, there are some things now that administration and the board have to look at to say, are we going to be able to truly reinstate some things that we previously took out of the budget? Those items being FLES, we had reduced it down to a 0.4, the high school English teacher, our athletic supplies and equipment, our kindergarten monitors. Can we reinstate extracurricular activities? Can we reinstate our arts and education? Can we reinstate field trips? So looking at that cut list that we had presented back in May 15th of $845,000, reviewing that closely and seeing, based on some savings we're starting to see, what might we be able to put back in the budget for operation in September. So overall, the proposed budget is $45,511,736, which, as Dr. Massara mentioned, is a modest 0.93% increase over this current school year's budget. Our tax levy is at the limit of 1.65, which results in an increase of just under $400,000 to our revenue line. The three components of the budget, they must be presented in this format over a budget hearing. So just to kind of recap, we have presented this in the past. They're made of three components: administrative, capital, and program. As you can see on the pie chart there, program is made up of 76% of our budget, which is what we want. We want all of our monies, our taxpayers' dollars, going to the education, the direct education of the children. Our overhead expenditures, we try to keep as low as possible. So you can see administration expenses are 10.4%. Our capital expenditures, which relate to our buildings and grounds, as well as the debt the district carries, is just over 13%. And expenditures that directly go to the students are 76%. So of that three-part component, here are just the dollar breakdowns of each of those, along with the percentage. Keeping in mind, it is a map of a spending plan, and we are ever moving parts of it. It's including all three of these costs. We're primarily looking at program moving forward as we start seeing some savings in areas and what we could possibly reinstate back into those program in future, so that we can have everything out there for all of our students. So our revenue side is our tax cap is 1.65, which you can see we are maximizing there. Our tuition, as we've stated in previous presentation, is on decline. And that's just due to some student placement needs, as well as tuition rate decline for our East Mauritius students. Our state aid is reduced. We're being held flat for this year. There was a pandemic adjustment included. We also had to reduce transportation aid due to the less expense that we have right now. And in addition, you'll see the allocation of reserves is up significantly, and that's our ERS, TRS reserve primarily. But we're at the end of the current school year with the savings we're starting to see due to the closure that we're experiencing right now. So just to go over what the tax levy of 1.65 looks like to an average taxpayer, you can see that it's about $105 annual increase. This is assuming that assessments continue to go up. So there's an inverse effect on this. Is assessments go up, tax rate goes down. So we are hopeful. Over the past couple of years, we have seen an increase in assessments. Given the time that we're experiencing right now, we're not sure if that's going to change. However, we have not seen too many filings of grievances come through our office just as of yet. So we should be seeing an increase of assessments, which will help keep that tax rate down. So we kind of wanted to put out there to the community what happens if our budget is not successful. Typically, you have a second vote, and then if that second vote's not successful, you default to what's called a contingency budget. Right now, there is no guidance if there's going to be a second vote if we are not successful in our first vote on June 9th. We are waiting guidance from the governor, and as soon as we have that, we will share that with the community. So if there is no revote, the board would have to go straight to a contingency budget. That results in a flat tax levy, which would be a $394,000 decrease in revenue. And a contingency budget also comes with various caveats. We're not allowed to do equipment purchases unless they're essential to the basic education of the programs or to the health and safety of students and staff. In addition, we won't be able to allow any outside organization use our facilities. And if they do use them, they are going to be required to pay a fee to cover all costs for those operations. So there's a significant impact to the entire community if we have to go to contingency. So we're closely watching this to see if the guidance comes out as to whether or not we'd be able to hold a second vote on a budget. In addition, we'd have to make further budget cuts to balance that. If we're losing $394,000 in revenue by keeping our levy flat, these are some different things we'd have to look at. We'd have to look at further staff-wide reductions. Do we reduce athletics? Do we continue to reduce extracurricular offerings? The electives up at the high school, our security team? Do we have to increase class sizes? So there's so many variables in this that the board would have to make decisions on. And as we move through this process, we'll just continue to watch. So we are also proposing on the ballot an energy performance contract. The Board of Education had approved this contract back in December of 2019. Work is anticipated to start in the fall of 2020. We're getting prepared now to send the paperwork up to the state for approval. The projected borrowing payments would begin 21-22 school year, with the state aid flowing shortly thereafter to offset that cost of the borrowing. In addition, the reduction in energy costs to the district would also start taking effect in 21-22. Therefore, it balances out the borrowing and results in no cost to the taxpayers. So on June 9th, there will be a proposition asking the community to endorse the EPC project. What this does for the district, it allows us to get the additional 10% of building aid on the project, which could equate to about $600,000 over the life of the project, which would be 15 years that we receive funding from the state for these things. So if we have an affirmative community vote, it just results in additional revenue to the district to help keep our programs in place. So why an EPC? Many people don't understand what an energy performance contract is. Essentially, it saves us energy costs annually. It reduces the district's carbon footprint. It provides for positive cash flow to the district as a result of the savings. Some things that we're looking at for improvements are solar panels, interior and exterior lighting upgrades, the energy management system building upgrades, burner controls, window film, unit ventilators. So by taking into account all of these positive savings and different things we have, the other benefit to this is in our classrooms, in the science rooms, when they start talking about Mother Earth lessons and such like that, they can actually use these savings and these metrics into their classroom lessons. So proposition number one, as I mentioned before, is for the annual budget, $44,511,736. It's a yes/no vote on that and allows the district to go out and tax for that the budget. Proposition number two is the energy performance contract, allowing us to receive an additional 10% of state aid from the project itself, which the total project is $6 million. It would result in about $600,000 additional revenue to the district and no cost to the taxpayers. There are two members of the board up for election. You would vote for two candidates. There are three candidates running: Ms. Danielle Dench, Mr. Josh Foster, and Ms. Robin Rayburn. You will see them in that order on the ballot when you receive it. And just a reminder, the annual budget vote is by absentee ballot only. It is on June 9th. June 1st, ballots will be mailed to all registered voters. You do not have to request one. You do not have to come up and get it. We will be putting them in the mail June 1st to allow sufficient time for them to get to the voters and for voters to return them to the district. They have to arrive no later than 5 p.m. on June 9th. And it will be either via the postage paid envelope that they come in, or you can hand deliver them to the district clerk at the district office at any time upon receiving them, but no later again than 5 p.m. on June 9th. Does the board have any questions?
I do not.
No, thank you.
Nope, thank you.
Yeah, very thorough and complete presentation. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Dr. Massara, do you have anything to add? Bill, I think he needs to be unmuted.
Oh, sorry, hang on. Ooh, go ahead.
No, I just want to, again, I want to thank, we're up to 59 people on. So just want to thank everybody that participated, anybody that might have, signed in a little bit late. These are all being recorded, so you could, come back and take a look at it. And again, we would love to, Carrie and I would love to do this presentation for any groups out there or any people out there that would like to see it. We're available for any questions. And happy to talk through any questions people have regarding the presentation. But again, thank you all for being here. It's our pleasure to do this, and we do take such great pride in what we're doing for the kids at Santa Mauritius and the connection to the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to questions and comments regarding tonight's agenda only. So an opportunity for persons who wish to speak or have written letters regarding tonight's agenda only. There'll be another question session in a couple of moments when we get done with the rest of the agenda. So if you have anything about tonight's agenda, Bill, how are we looking?
No hands raised yet.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Pat, you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Pat?
Let's see what Pat is. Hold on.
Items.
Pat.
Consent agenda items
Uh-oh.
are approved via a single vote unless they are removed from being a consent agenda item prior to the vote.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Can I just pause here for a second, if that's okay? And I just want to, first of all, thank Linda for her, her service to our school district. She's been here for a few years now, and she's worn many, many hats and has done a good job for us. And we certainly wish her well in the future and where she's going, and know that they are getting a quality person over there. So we do thank her for that. And then I have to, I don't know how long Mr. O'Brien has been with our district. It's probably been at least 2 years. 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, at least 2 years, right? He's one of the people that when you talk Santa Mauritius School District, he's one of the people that pops to mind immediately. All three of my children had him, and great experience going through the middle school with Mr. O'Brien there, and he's certainly going to be missed quite dearly by the members of the community and the children that have had him and the ones that now, may not get the opportunity. But we certainly are excited for him and wish him well in his retirement, and thank him for his dedication. How many years, Kerry? 30?
36.
36?
Yes.
Wow.
36? Holy macaroni. That's certainly quite the career.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Mr. O'Brien. I wish we could share some virtual cake with you. Congratulate you, and you too, Linda, as you move on. But thank you very much for your dedicated service to our district.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. That brings us to questions and comments from the community. Members who desire to address or question the board, any topic related to board work are welcome to do so. So hit that little hand raising thing. If you click, for me, I click participants and it's down there. I already see we have a couple of hands already. So Mr. Nofi, Bill, you'll monitor that for us.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Oh, I think I'm on. Okay. Hi, Board of Education. My name is Jake Miller. I'm a senior at Center Merchants High School. First off, just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for us seniors each Friday. It's something new. We really appreciate it. So yeah. And then the second thing is I know Mr. Caswell and Mr. Thode announced the 4-phase graduation plan. And I wanted to know if it would be reviewed if the governor was to allow outside graduation ceremonies to happen.
Great question.
Yeah, Jake, thank you so much, Jake. I appreciate, the question. We're basically making decisions based on, the current law and the executive orders that exist, that preclude anything, groups gathering more than 10 people. And so, when we think about these things and we think about the freeze-ins and knowing that Suffolk County has been impacted worse than almost any other county other than Nassau in the state, where we were fearful. And I am in a lot of calls at the state level. So I'm really trying to make decisions that I think are, helpful, or guided by, the most up-to-date information we have. I don't believe that we're going to get guidance that's going to, we're certainly not going to get guidance that's going to allow us to a traditional ceremony. And so, that's why we moved toward, something where we knew we could create something that would be special for the kids, and not just say, hey, we're going to push it to July and then disappoint them again with another cancellation, or push it to August and disappoint with another cancellation. So we tried to put together something that was a real good plan, certainly not what you'd expect. But I think whatever we would put in place that would be a socially distanced graduation certainly wouldn't be what you'd like to see anyway. So, Jake, I guess the answer to that is if we get explicit instructions from the governor that can, in some way create clear parameters for how we could do a socially distanced graduation that could work, we could work around that. But the problem is the timing of it, as you know, Jake. These things do not, you don't turn around a graduation in a week. You don't turn around a graduation in 2 weeks. They take, planning over time. And so until we know what we're able to do, it's impossible to be able to plan. And so, we are beholden to, the higher powers that are making these decisions, and the plan we put in place, we thought had some good elements that had a nice touch and would at least let you guys know how much we love you guys and we're so proud of you guys, but at the same time, not trying to create false hope, and also, not give up hope. So, that's where we're stuck. If we had clear guidance, Jake, we could act on that clear guidance, but absent that, we're in a little bit of a difficult position. So I hope you can understand that, and I hope that does answer your question to a degree.
Great. Thank you for that explanation.
You got it, too.
Thank you for the question, Jake. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bill?
Okay. I have Lisa Marin.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Good. With the voting booths closed and everything, I was wondering how the votes are going to be counted, and have you appointed anybody for I guess the electors, I think they're called, and how that's going to be done and by who?
Want me to grab that, Ron?
Sure. Yeah. You go ahead, Bear.
So last board meeting, we appointed the election inspectors, and we actually appointed all staff to be able to do that. As we get closer next week, we're going to be finalizing that. But all ballots will start being opened on June 9th at 5 p.m. We did receive some guidance today from legal about whether or not it has to be video live streamed. So we're working all those specific details out with the district clerk, Pat Gallietta. Her and I are going to be discussing all those specifics within the next week so that we can, be sure to follow what the executive order states we have to do and make sure that everybody is able to witness it. So we will begin opening ballots at 5:01 on June 9th. We cannot open them prior to that. And we're hopeful we can get through them all that night in a timely manner and that we can report the results out the evening of the 9th.
Okay, and that information, when you get the last of the directives, will be made, we put on the district website?
Correct. There's a Q&A spot on the budget. If you go onto the district website on the business office page, there's a budget page on there. And we've already posted a question and answer to try to help answer some questions like this. And we'll continue to add to that as we gain information. In addition to that, our newsletter should be going out in the mail on Friday, which is 2 days, so that you can gain further information on the budget and the energy performance contract. But as we work through some of these details and some unknowns right now, we'll continue to fill in the Q&A page on the business office website.
And when are we getting the ballots, the actual ballots?
June 1st, we will be mailing them.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
No other hands raised. Oh, wait, there's
Okay.
one. Hold on. CM Farm.
Yes, can you hear me? This is Herb Strobel. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
Yes, good evening. Thanks very much for the thorough presentation. This question is to Ms. Laughlin regarding the energy performance contract. I think you said that we would expect some of that to be funded by state aid, state building aid, considering the extraordinary deficit that the state budget looks like it's going to be. And I know there are no guarantees, but I'm just wondering if you could comment on the possibility that we might not, in fact, get that state building aid.
From what we're hearing, building aid is not being touched, neither is expense-based aid. So our transportation aid, our high costs for some students that we claim aid for, none of that is being affected by any of the pandemic adjustments that are being made. It's our understanding it's just going to be foundation aid, which is our base state aid, which is about just over $7 million for our district. So we're not hearing anything that building aid is being affected at all or adjusted for in future years.
And just a quick follow-up, to your knowledge, has state building aid ever been cut in past years? You know, going back whatever number of years you want to go back.
Not to my knowledge. At one point they did freeze it. If you didn't file your claim within a certain time period, you never saw that aid, but then they did release that, and there was a period where you could try to get that in to get that aid money back. But as long as the way they've restructured the filing of it, they don't start budgeting for your aid until you start filing certain papers with the state. So as long as we're filing those efficiently, we should start seeing the aid flow as per what the scheduled timeline is for UPC.
Thank you for those insights. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Bill?
Let me look through the list. Oh, one more. Lisa Marin again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And maybe this will be up on the website also, but maybe Ms. Laughlin can answer. Is there any way, and I'm assuming there's really not a good way to do this, to make sure that people aren't using other people's ballots, like ballots are getting mailed to people who have moved or people. So I don't know. In my own head, I cannot figure out
What
ways
we're doing
to.
is putting a label.
A label?
We're putting a, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if my internet was freezing up on me.
I think it is a little
we're
bit.
We're putting a label on, Ron, you want to take that? Or Pat?
We're putting a label on the outside to the residence address, to the mailing address, and then inside goes a label to the residence address, and they have to sign an oath at the back that it is indeed them, that they're entitled to vote.
Okay. And I guess every resident gets one. So if you have 3 voters in your household, you would get 3 ballots.
You should get 3 ballots, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pat.
Welcome.
Bill?
Looks good. Looks good. No hands.
No hands?
No hands.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the, I guess that's the end, right?
Yep.
Dates to remember, the next Board of Ed meeting will be on June 17th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
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 All in favor?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much again for everybody who came out tonight. And
Thank
please
you.
take Dr. Mazzara up on it. If you have questions, you want a personal presentation group, please take him up on it. And thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you, George.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey.
All right.